Of everything, not just in Italy, but in the whole world, the region of Campania is the most beautiful. Nothing is more temperate than the climate. Indeed, its spring flowers blossom twice. This quote from Floris's Epitome sets the scene for the Pompeii and Mount Vesuvius area in Italy. Pompeii was a wealthy city built on a foundation of agricultural prosperity. However, the attraction to the region for its fertile, volcanic soil also led to its ultimate destruction. Studies have shown evidence of active volcanism for the last 2 million years around Vesuvius. The natural history of Pompeii explains that the soils underlying the 79 AD pumice deposit reveal a number of volcanic ash layers, which show that a number of small to moderate-sized eruptions occurred in Vesuvius prior to the great event that devastated Pompeii and Herculaneum. The Greeks and Romans were actually aware of the volcanic history of the area. Pliny the Elder described it as the fields of fires and also hypothesized about the pumice and ash from the Solfatara crater's positive impact on soil fertility. Due to the land's productivity, the Greeks moved into the area and founded Naples and Pompeii around 650 BC. Pompeii is situated less than 10 kilometers from the summit of Mount Vesuvius. When the Greeks' power began to wane, the Romans took over Pompeii around 310 to 302 BC. Pompeii was economically dependent on agriculture. There were even large agricultural plots within the city walls, and according to Ray Lawrence in Roman Pompeian Society, the soil in Pompeii was so productive that the pressure to convert areas of the city from agricultural use into housing was resisted. The land was also able to support several different crops a year. Pompeii's main exports were wine and olive oil. Pompeii dominated much of Rome's wine market, as evidenced by the significant amount of amphora found in Rome that were made from distinct Vesuvian clay. The city was mostly inhabited by rich merchants, bankers, lawyers, and landowners, with swarms of servants, and was turned into a bustling center of wine and oil production, which in turn resulted in wealth and an evolution of related cultural values and norms. A city whose prosperity was built partially on the wine train could be expected to develop a prominent culture around drinking in bars. Not only did Pompeii export wine, but also imported it. Wine appears to be an important component of Pompeii inhabitants' lives, with 20 wine shops and taverns and 118 bars identified within the city walls. The Art and Life of Pompeii and Herculaneum notes that a city that had the wine trade as one of its most important sources of wealth could be expected to have numerous effigies of Bacchus, god of vineyards. Although the worship of Bacchus or Dionysus was banned by Roman magistrates in 186 BC, the archaeologists have found evidence that the temple of Bacchus was still in use at the time of Vesuvius's eruption. The Villa of Mysteries, most likely owned by the Isticidi family, who were Pompeian nobility whose land was almost exclusively used in wine production, features a hall with these Dionysic scenes, again alluding to the enduring activities of the cult of Dionysus. Other families like the Isticidi also owed credit to the prosperous agriculture for their affluence. As Ray Lawrence stated, the surplus wealth from this agricultural production was displayed in the material and physical wealth of the city. The Romans were known for decorating all surfaces of their homes from floor to ceiling. The House of Fawn, named after the bronze fawn statue in the pool, is an example of material culture and extravagance in Pompeii. The house is about 32,000 square feet and is home to many intricate and large mosaics, such as this one, originally set into the floor but is now on display in Naples National Archaeological Museum. This triclinium of the House of Neptune in Silesia and neighboring Herculaneum also features elaborate mosaics. Further, many of the villas house detailed portraits and statues, another sign of the wealth in the area. The House of Menander, which was occupied by a relative of Emperor Nero's wife at the time of the eruption, is known for its treasure. 118 pieces of silver, such as these silver goblets, were found in a large chest hidden underground the house's baths. In addition to the treasure chest was a jewel case with earrings, necklaces, hairpins, rings, and more, with gold, rubies, emeralds, and other stones. While the city was booming, it suffered from a huge earthquake in 62 AD, a foreshadowing event. The earthquake devastated much of Pompeii, but it bounced back quickly. However, by the time the city had mostly recovered, on August 24th of 79 AD, Vesuvius erupted. Pliny the Younger, the only surviving witness of the event, described the eruption. It was not clear at a distance from which mountain the cloud was rising. Its general appearance can best be expressed as being an umbrella pine. He also wrote about the electrical storms that followed. Pompeii was covered in lava, boulders, pumice, ash, and cinders that measured about 13 feet high. Many of the victims were not killed not only by the lava and falling masonry, but were suffocated by the ash and the sulfurous fumes and chloride gases. The ash that fell around the bodies was tightly compacted enough so that their forms were preserved. Therefore, when Giuseppe Fiorelli in 1860 began the systematic evacuation of the area, he was able to fill these voids in the ash with plaster to create casts of the victims. The area around Vesuvius was eventually resettled. Life and agriculture resumed, but another major eruption occurred in 1631, as depicted by Jacques Valaire's painting. For the inhabitants of Pompeii and the rest of the region in the shadow of Vesuvius, the allure of the fertile volcanic soil outweighed any reservations about the known volcanic activity. The wealth derived from the flourishing wine and olive oil production led to the emergence of the rich material culture enjoyed and encouraged by Pompeians. However, in the end, the productive land that brought this affluence also led to its ultimate destruction. The area today is just as fertile and abundant as it was at the time of the 79 AD eruption. Despite multiple eruptions since then, the latest being in 1944, people still inhabit the region, again choosing the short-term agricultural prosperity over the future potential consequences. As Mount Vesuvius is still classified as an active volcano, hopefully advanced technology and remote sensing will help us avoid completely repeating history again.